Hello and welcome to day 34 of revising UPSC previous year questions for UPSC 2027. In this lecture, I will going to cover GS3 of 2021 and all the papers of 21, 22, 23, 24 and 25 are done. Today is GS3 and tomorrow will be GS4 and then we are done with 2021 as well. So let's get started. Question number 1. Explain the difference between computing methodology of India's gross domestic product before the year 2015 and after the year 2015. In January 2015, the Central Statistic Office revised India's national accounts statistics methodology to align national accounting practices with international standards. System of National Accounts SNA 2008. Key methodological differences. GDP computation structural shift, pre-2015 methodology, post-2015 methodology. These are the, you can see factors cost baseline base year 2004 to 5, base year 2011 and 12, market price baseline and all these. Valuation baseline shift. Pre-2015 methodology measured GDP at factor cost, production cost. Post 2015 calculates GDP at market price, that is GVA at base price. Let me correct it for you. I can read all these, but for your convenience. So this is the market price, GVA at basic price plus product taxes minus product subsidies. Base year revision shifted from 2004-5 to 2011-12, incorporating updated economic structures, data source and converge expansion, data source and coverage expansion, transitioned from volume-based indicators like the index of industrial production, IIP, and annual survey of industries, ASI, to comprehensive corporate financial data via the Ministry of Corporate Affairs MCA 21 database. Financial sector inclusion, reclassified banking services using advanced formulas to capture value addition accurately rather than relying merely on wage bill proxies. This methodological overhaul enhanced international comparability, improved accuracy in capturing service sector growth, and provided a realistic picture of economic output for policy formulation. Question 2. Distinguish between capital budget and revenue budget. Explain components of both these budgets. If you can see, this is like the first question in 5 years, like 2021, 22, 23, 24, 25. Post, if you see the videos of 22, 23, 24, 25, you will not get these kind of static questions in GS3. So the last they asked was in 2021, and after that it is all application based. The GS3 is completely dynamic, right? But still, this is important so that we could have greater understanding. And it doesn't mean that you do not go through these questions, because static is important, man. You cannot deny that it is still relevant in prelims. Under Article 112 of the Constitution, the Union Budget annual financial statement is divided into the revenue budget and the capital budget to separate operational consumption from long-term asset creation. Structure of Union Budget, revenue budget and capital budget. If you can go through this. Revenue budget, receipt, expenditure, revenue, receipt, expenditure, revenue, expenditure, I mean. So in this you have tax, non-tax, grants in aid and contribution, other revenue, and all this. In expenditure, you have establishment expenses, salaries, allowance, pensions, interest, subsidies, grants in aid to states, and social services, other revenue. Capital budget, receipts, expenditure again, recovery of loans, disinvestments, proceeds, borrowings, other capital, receipts, acquisition of asset, loan and advances, investments in share and security, capital outlay on scheme. Key differences: revenue budget is for maintaining existing services, capital is for building asset and strengthening the economy of the future. Distinguishing features and components, Union Budget Framework. Revenue budget, short-term operational, capital budget, long-term asset creation. You can go through this receipt and all. Revenue budget, current operations, deals with financial transactions that do not create assets or reduce liability for the government. Revenue receipts, tax revenue, GST, income tax, corporation tax, and non-tax revenue, dividends, interest, user fees. Revenue expenditure, day-to-day administrative expenses, interest payments, defense operations, subsidies and grants to states. Capital budget, asset liability alterations, deals with transactions that create physical financial assets or reduce liabilities. Capital receipts, borrowings, internal external recovery of loans and disinvestments, proceeds, debt and non-debt. Receipts, capital expenditure, capex, investments in infrastructure, roads, railways under PM Gati Shakti, loans to state government and defense equipment acquisition. Maintaining a healthy balance between both budgets, minimizing revenue deficits while expanding capital expenditure, drives sustainable economic growth and fiscal stability, FRBM Act goals. Question 3. How did land reform in some parts of the country help to improve the socio-economic conditions of marginal and small farmers? Post-independence land reforms aimed to alter the agrarian structure by eliminating feudal intermediaries, redistributing land and securing tenancy rights. Tenancy rights directly impacting small and marginal farmers. 86% of Indian holdings. This is the map. Land reform successful experiences. Operation Barga, West Bengal Comprehensive Land Reform Act, Kerala. You can go through this, and this is the map. Map is important, man. You need not to draw exactly with state, just draw an outline and you can show this. Impact on socio-economic conditions in select regions. Land reform, socio-economic engine, tenancy security, investment incentive, higher yield and rural poverty reduction. Hold on. Tenancy security and rent regulation. Successful implementation of tenancy. Successful implementation. Hold on, let me silence my phone. Okay. Successful implementation of tenancy laws in West Bengal, Operation Barga and Kerala provided security of tenure and capped crop shares, encouraging farmers to invest in land productivity. Abolition of intermediaries, eliminated zamindari exploitation, establishing a direct relationship between small farmers and the state, which reduced forced labor, begar, and debt traps. Land redistribution and asset ownership. Stealing laws redistributed surplus land to landless agricultural laborers, granting social dignity, collateral credit access, and rural financial stability. Agricultural productivity and credit access. Institutional land ownership enabled smallholders to access formal bank credit and adopt green revolution inputs, raising household incomes. Regional disparities. Success was pronounced in West Bengal and Kerala due to political will, whereas weak implementation in other states eliminated broader national gains. Rejuvenating land records via DIL, RMP, digitization, and promote land leasing frameworks. Niti Aayog Model Act can further empower small farmers and accelerate rural prosperity. Question 4. How and to what extent would micro irrigation help in solving India's water crisis? With agriculture consuming over 80% of India's freshwater reserves and climate change exacerbating groundwater depletion, micro irrigation systems comprising drip and sprinkler irrigation are vital for sustainable water management. How micro irrigation solves the water crisis? Water usage efficiency delivers water directly to root zones, achieving 80 to 90% water efficiency compared to conventional flood irrigation, 30 to 50%. Groundwater conservation reduces over extraction of aquifers in stressed agricultural belts. Example Punjab, Haryana, Tamil Nadu. Fertilizer efficiency, fertigation, combines liquid fertilizers with drip water, reducing nutrient leaching and chemical runoffs. Energy savings, lower electricity consumption for farm pumps due to reduced volumetric water pumping demands. Micro irrigation value cascade, direct root delivery 90% water saving, reduced pump energy, aquifer recovery, extent of impact and limitations. High potential covers 15 million hectares under the per drop more crop scheme, significantly raising crop yields. Structural bottlenecks, high initial capex cost, frequent clogging of drip emitters, electricity availability gaps, and low adoption among smallholders due to land fragmentation limit universal coverage. Scaling micro irrigation through targeted subsidies, microcredit support, and solar powered pumps strengthen climate resilience and secure India's long term water security. Question 5. How is S-400 air defense system technically superior to any other system presently available in the world? The S-400 Triumph is a mobile surface-to-air missile system developed by Russia, acquired by India to strengthen multi-layered air defense capabilities. It is widely considered one of the most advanced systems globally. Technical superiority over global counterparts. Example, THAAD of US and Patriot. Means THAAD and Patriot are from US PSC 3. Integrated multi-layered range capability deploys 4 distinct missile types: very long range 400 kilometers, long range 250 kilometers, medium range 120 kilometers, and short range 40 kilometers, creating an integrated defense umbrella unmatched by single missile system like THAAD. Look, I can change all of this like dollar, tax, all this, but I kept it because so that no one can claim that I copy the answers from their resources or from them. So that is the reason I just keep it as it is, right? These are all my hard work. Means I obviously I used AI, but the prompt and everything is 100% of my own. Target diversity and engagement. Engages stealth aircraft, strategic bombers, cruise missiles, drone swarms, and high velocity tactical ballistic missiles simultaneously. Simultaneously tracking and engagement. Advanced 3D phased array. Radar tracks up to 300 targets and engages 36 targets simultaneously within 72 missiles. Rapid deployment and anti-jamming. Fully mobile setup capable of deployment within 5 minutes. Equipped with advanced electronic countermeasures ECCM against radar jamming. So S-400 layer defense shield, 400 kilometer outer ring, 120 kilometer medium shield, 40 kilometer inner bubble. Stealth aircraft and bombers, cruise missile and jet, tactical drones and rockets. The parameters: S-400 Triumph, THAAD and Patriot, both are of USA. Maximum engagement: S-400 400 kilometer, THAAD 200, Patriot 100 kilometer. Target spectrum: stealth, ballistic, cruise drones, primary ballistic missiles, aircraft, and short ballistics. Deployment speed: 5 minutes, 30 minutes, 25 minutes. Integrating the S-400 system significantly elevates India's anti-access area denial A2AD capabilities, securing critical national airspace against complex multi-directional airborne threats. Question 6. Explain the purpose of the Green Grid initiative launched at World Leaders Summit of the COP26 UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow in November 2021. When was this idea first floated in the International Solar Alliance? The Green Grid initiative, One Sun, One World, One Grid, launched jointly by India and UK at COP26 Glasgow 2021, aims to build an interconnected global clean power grid to harness the Green Grid initiative, One Sun, One World. One Sun, One World, One Grid, launched jointly by India and the UK at COP26 Glasgow 2021, aims to build an interconnected global clean power grid to harness solar energy across time zones continuously. Purpose of the Green Grid Initiative: cross-border solar integration operationalizes the vision the sun never sets, transmitting surplus solar power from regions experiencing daylight to regions experiencing night or peak demand. Overcoming intermittency resolves the inherent intermittency of renewable energy by balancing regional grids globally, reducing dependence on fossil fuel backup power, reducing storage costs, minimizing reliance on expensive localized battery energy storage system BESS by enabling real-time international energy trade, fostering global energy equity, provides clean affordable power to developing nations, advancing SDG 7 affordable and clean energy. So this is the flow diagram, you can go through this, and this is the map. So this is the idea: global solar energy triad, interconnected solar hubs, one in Southeast Asia, one in South Asia, India and all, and one in the West. So everything should be connected, and from there it is distributed like this, it is connected like this. So still a theoretical concept, theoretical as in on papers only. Genesis in International Solar Alliance. The concept of one sun, one world, one grid was first floated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi during the first assembly of the International Solar Alliance in October 2018. GGI OSOWOG accelerates global decarbonization by transforming regional renewable energy generation into a unified, resilient global clean power system. Question 7: describe the key points of the revised global air quality guidelines recently released by the World Health Organization. How are these different from its last update in 2005? What changes in India's National Clean Air Program are required to achieve these revised standards? The World Health Organization WHO updated its global air quality guidelines, lowering recommended pollutant thresholds significantly to protect public health from the adverse impact of ambient air pollution. Key points and differences from 2005 guidelines. WHO, this is the flow diagram, you can go through this. So pollutant 2005 WHO guidelines and revised WHO guidelines. So this is the table: 2.5, 10 to 2.5, PM 2.5, PM to 10, and NO2. So you can go through this. Okay, you can directly memorize it. From earlier it was 10, now it is 5. So I don't think it is that important unless and until you want data. In prelims, it is they will not gonna ask it like that. Okay, anyway, required changes in India's NCAP. Revising national ambient air quality standards. India's current PM 2.5 annual threshold is 8 times higher than the revised WHO limits, necessitating stricter national targets. Airshed-based governance. Transition from city-specific plans to regional airshed management models to control transboundary agricultural residue, burning and industrial smoke, expanding rural monitoring, scale monitoring network beyond non-attainment cities into rural and industrial hinterlands, strict transport and thermal emission caps, accelerate industrial fuel shift BS6 enforcement and public electric mobility transition, aligning NCAP with WHO guidelines through airshed governance, safeguards public health, reducing respiratory disease burden, and advancing sustainable urban development. Question 8. Discuss about the vulnerability of India to earthquake-related hazard. Give examples, including the salient features to major disaster caused by earthquakes in different parts of India during the last 3 decades. Nearly 59% of India's landmass is vulnerable to moderate to severe seismic hazards, driven primarily by the ongoing northward tectonic convergence of the Indian plate against the Eurasian plate. This is the diagram and you have to draw it. If something related to this asked in the exam, so these are the zones 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can go through the map through the book as well or atlas. As I repeatedly said in my earlier videos, that I do not use the atlas or books diagram or map directly. Maybe I do not know, but maybe because of if someone uh, have any issue like related to copyright, so I created the map. Anyway, you can go through this and you can go through the same map in atlas or in the NCRT book. So the India seismic vulnerability factors. Tectonic dynamics, high seismicity along the Himalayan arc. Seismic zone 5 and 4 due to active plate collision and fault lines, main boundary thrust, unplanned urbanization, dense north non-earthquake resistance construction, narrow access lanes, and soft alluvial soils in the Indo-Gangetic plains. Seismic hazard drivers. Plate collision, Himalayan arc, fault line, strain, release, collapse of weak structures. Major earthquakes in India. Latur earthquake 93, Maharashtra seismic zone 3 features. Shallow focuses intraplate earthquake in a horizontally stable peninsular zone. Destroyed unreinforced masonry structures, causing over 9,000 casualties. Bhuj earthquake 2001. Seismic zone 5 features intraplate fault rupture 7.7 magnitude, triggered severe liquefaction, destroying urban infrastructure across Kutch and killing over 20,000 people. Actually, I was a kid that time, but I still remember this. I wasn't in Gujarat, but my hometown is away, but not that away. But yeah, quite away enough from the district Kutch, from this place Kutch. Actually, it is under Bhuj district, but we still felt the tremors of that earthquake. Just after Republic Day, if I'm not wrong, after 26 January, somewhere close to that. Kashmir earthquake 2005, seismic zone 5, features high magnitude collision event 7.6 magnitude along the Himalayan border, triggered massive landslides destroying remote mountain villages and access roads. Reinforcing NDMA guidelines for seismic safety, building compliance IS 1893 standards, retrofitting vulnerable structures and community preparedness, mitigating earthquake hazards effectively. Question 9. Discuss how emerging technologies and globalization contribute to money laundering. Elaborate measures to tackle the problem of money laundering both at national and international levels. Money laundering converts illicitly gained wealth into untraceable legitimate assets. The synergy of economic globalization and emerging digital technologies has amplified the speed, scale, and complexity of global money laundering operations. Contribution of emerging technologies and globalization, cryptocurrency and decentralized finance, pseudo anonymous blockchain transfers, privacy coins, and decentralized exchanges enable instant cross border capital movement outside central bank oversight. Darknet markets and online gambling, unregulated digital platforms facilitate illicit narcotics and trade financing using encrypted payment system. Globalized trade and offshore havens. Trade-based money laundering (TBML) utilizes misinvoicing within complex global supply chain, exploiting offshore shell companies and tax havens. Measure to tackle money laundering, national level measures, enforcing the Prevention of Money Laundering Act (PMLA 2002) with broad powers to the Enforcement Directorate (ED), bringing virtual digital assets (VDA) platforms under PMLA reporting mandates, integration of the financial intelligence through FIU, IND, and NatGrid monitoring algorithms. International level measures, enforcing global standards deployed by the Financial Action Task Force, travel rule for cryptos, strengthening automatic exchange of financial information under OECD frameworks and UN Convention against transnational organized crime. Dismantling global money laundering demands real-time intelligence sharing, strict crypto asset regulation, and robust FATF compliance to protect financial integrity. Question 10. Keeping in view India's internal security, analyze the impact of cross-border cyber attacks. Also discuss defensive measures against these sophisticated attacks. Cross-border cyber attacks executed by hostile state and non-state actors represent a critical asymmetric threat to India's internal security, targeting critical national infrastructure and economic stability. Impact on internal security, critical infrastructure vulnerability, attacks on power grids, 2020 Mumbai power outage, suspects nuclear facility, Kudankulam malware incidents, and transport network disrupt essential public services, financial and data disruptions, ransomware attacks on healthcare networks, example 2022 AIMS Delhi cyber attack and banking databases cause loss of sensitive personal data and financial instability. Cognitive warfare and disinformation, deepfakes and cross-border social media manipulation orchestrate communal friction and civil unrest. Espionage and military sabotage, advanced persistent threats, target defense space and government networks to steal strategic assets. So cross-border cyber attack, vectors, critical infrastructure, ransomware disruption, information warfare. Defensive measures implemented and required. Institutional architecture, operation led by CERT in IN, National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center, NCIIPC, and the Defense Cyber Agency. Real-time threat intelligence, deploying AI-driven threat hunting systems through the National Cyber Coordination Center. Cyber hygiene and supply chain audits, mandatory security audits for imported telecom, IT hardware and software vulnerabilities. Zero trust security architecture, enforcing strict access control across all government networks. Strengthening national cyber defenses requires securing IT hardware supply chains, fostering indigenous security solution, and enacting a comprehensive national cyber security strategy. Question 11. Do you agree that the Indian economy has recently experienced V-shaped recovery? Give reasons in support of your answer. A V-shaped recovery is characterized by a sharp economic decline, followed immediately by an equally rapid rebound back to baseline growth. Following the severe contraction during financial year 2020-21, minus 6.6% caused by pandemic lockdowns, the Indian economy demonstrated a strong economic rebound, growing at over 8.7% in the subsequent fiscal year as highlighted by the economic survey. Reasons supporting a V-shaped recovery trajectory. Rapid macroeconomic rebound. GDP growth surged back sharply, driven by pent-up demand, strong fiscal stimulus, and aggressive monetary easing by the Reserve Bank of India. I don't know why I have this problem, man. I mix the word. My mind mixed the words. Resilient high frequency indicators in GST collections, IIT index figures, man. PMI manufacturing services indices and power consumption restored to pre-pandemic levels rapidly. Capital expenditure and infrastructure push. Public capex surge under the PM Gati Shakti and National Infrastructure Pipeline, crowded in private investment and generated employment multipliers. Agriculture sector stability. Agriculture served as an economic cushion, maintaining positive growth rates throughout the contraction period due to favorable monsoon and uninterrupted farm operations. So the V-shaped recovery trajectory, pre-pandemic baseline contraction, sharp rebound. This is the graph. You can go through this like this. This is V-shape. Boom. nuances and counter arguments. K-shaped recovery concern. Informal versus formal disparity. While large listed corporates rebounded strongly, informal enterprises and MSME faced lingering financial distress, pointing toward a K-shaped recovery segmentally. Consumption asymmetry. Private final consumption expenditure PFCE recovery lagged behind capital expenditure growth, with high income consumption recovering faster than low income rural consumption. India successfully achieved a macro V-shaped recovery. Sustaining long-term inclusive growth requires strengthening MSME, boosting private consumption, and expanding targeted social safety nets. Question 12. Investment in infrastructure is essential for more rapid and inclusive economic growth. Discuss in the light of India's experience. Infrastructure serves as the backbone of economic development. In India, investing in physical, digital, and social infrastructure reduces logistic cost, enhances market connectivity, and expands access to basic amenities, directly driving rapid and inclusive growth. How infrastructure investment drives rapid growth? Lowering logistics cost. High logistic cost, 13 to 14% of GDP, hamper industrial competitiveness. Projects under Bharatmala, Sagarmala, and dedicated freight corridors (DFCs) lower freight transit times and transport expenses. Multiplier effect on GDP. Capital expenditure in construction and steel cement industries generates strong forward and backward linkages. Niti Aayog estimates a capex multiplier effect of 2.45, approximately 2.45, attracting foreign direct investments. Modern industrial corridors, DMIC, and plug and play parks attract global supply chain investments under the PLI schemes. Infrastructure multiplier engine, and you can go through this. Logistic reduction, high capex multiplier, inclusivity expansion. How infrastructure investments drives inclusive growth? Rural market integration, PMGSY, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana connects remote agricultural villages to urban mandis, augmenting farmer realizations. Digital inclusion and public goods. The JAM Trinity and BharatNet fiber expansion enable direct benefit transfers, e-commerce access, and financial inclusion for marginalized communities. Basic utility access. Initiatives like Jal Jeevan Mission, piped water, and PM Awas Yojana affordable housing raise living standards and improve health outcomes. Executing integrated infrastructure framework through PM Gati Shakti and National Monetization Pipeline (NMP) unlocks productivity gains and bridging regional disparities and fostering inclusive economic development. Question 13. What are the salient features of the National Food Security Act 2013? How has the Food Security Bill eliminating helped in eliminating hunger and malnutrition in India? The National Food Security Act (NFSA) 2013 transformed food security in India from a welfare-based approach to a legally enforceable entitlement covering up to 67% of the population, 75% rural and 50% urban. Salient features of NFSA 2013. Legal entitlements and pricing. Entitles 5 kg of food grains per person per month at subsidized prices. Rupees 3 per kg rice, 2 per kg wheat. You can go through this. These data changes actually. Antyodaya Anna Yojana households receive 35 kg per family per month. Women empowerment mandates the eldest woman more than 18 years of age is in the household as the head of the family for ration card issuance. Maternity and child nutrition guarantees free nutritious meals to pregnant women, lactating mothers, and children aged 6 months to 14 years via Anganwadis and PM Poshan along with maternity benefits. Grievance redressal, set up district grievance redressal officers and state food commissions. NFSA entitlement matrix and food grain entitlement, maternal and child cover, gender empowerment. Role in eliminating hunger and malnutrition. Preventing extreme starvation, expanded PDS coverage. Preventing extreme starvation, expanded PDS coverage, cushion. Role in eliminating hunger and malnutrition. Preventing extreme starvation, expanded PDS coverage, cushions vulnerable households against supply shocks and food inflation. Reinforced via PM Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. Targeting child malnutrition. Free nutritional support at schools, midday meal, and Anganwadis combats stunting, wasting, and anemia. NFHS 5 targets. Migrant portability. Integration with one nation, one ration card enables seamless food entitlement access for mobile migrant workers nationwide. NFSA serves as India's primary social safety net against hunger. Further strengthening the system requires food grain fortification, PDS, list updating, and e-post biometric reliability. Question 14. What are the present challenges before crop diversification? How do emerging technologies provide an opportunity for crop diversification? Crop diversification involves shifting from monoculture cropping patterns, primarily rice wheat cycle, towards high value climate resilient crops like pulses, oilseeds, millet, and horticulture, which is essential for land sustainability and farmer income security. Present challenges before crop diversification. MSP and procurement bias. Open-ended government procurement under minimum support price. MSP heavily favors paddy and wheat, discouraging farmers from switching to alternative crops. Assured irrigation distortion. Free subsidized power for groundwater pumping incentives. Water intensive incentivizes water intensive rice cultivation even in water stressed region. Punjab, Haryana. Inadequate post harvest logistics, lack of cold chain processing, and dedicated marketing infrastructure for perishable horticultural crops. Market and price volatility. High price fluctuations for pulses and vegetables compared to stable pricing for cereal crops. Crop diversification constraints. MSP procurement bias, subsidy distortion, post harvest deficits. Opportunities provided by emerging technologies, agri-tech enabled diversification and GIS remote sensing, AI and precision sensors, digital market access. GIS and remote sensing mapping, soil health mapping, and agroclimatic zone help identify precise zones suitable for pulses, oilseed, and coarse grains. Precision agriculture and IoT, drones and IoT sensors optimize water and fertilizer use, making high value horticulture commercially viable for smallholders. Biotechnology and climate resilient seeds, gene edited drought resistant and gene edited drought resistant seed varieties, example biofortified millets, ensure stable yields under climate stress. Digital market platform and ENAM. Direct digital integration connects farmers with food processing industries, eliminating middleman risk for perishable crops. Promoting crop diversification through schemes like Millet Mission 3 Anna paired with agri-tech solutions ensures agricultural stability, water conservation, and enhanced farm incomes. Question 15. What are the research and developmental achievements in applied biotechnology? How will these achievements help to uplift the poorer section of the society? Applied biotechnology integrates biological sciences with technological processes to develop solutions across agriculture, health, and environmental management. Under the guidance of Department of Biotechnology, DBT R&D achievements in the field offer transformative tools for poverty alleviation. Analytical body. Major R&D achievements in applied biotechnology, agricultural biotechnology, development of high yielding, climate resilient, and biofortified crops. Example BT cotton, zinc enriched rice, drought tolerant wheat, healthcare and biopharmaceuticals, indigenous development of low-cost recombinant vaccines, Covaxin, Rotavac, biosimilars, diagnostic kits and DNA mRNA vaccines platform, environmental and industrial biosolutions, bioremediation techniques for oil spill cleanup, oil zapper, bioenzymes for waste management and 2G ethanol biofuel technology, bioinnovation sector, so agri-biotech, health biotech and environment, NV, environmental biotech. Uplifting poorer section of society, combating malnutrition and hunger, biofortified crops. Example, iron and zinc fortified pearl millets directly address hidden hunger among poor rural women and children, reducing farm input cost, pest resistant and climate resilient seed varieties, protect small farmers from crop failure and reduce dependence on costly chemical pesticides, affordable healthcare access, domestically produced low cost vaccines and diagnostic tools dramatically lower out of pocket health expenditure, a major driver of rural poverty. Sanitation and rural enterprise, implementation of bio toilets developed by DRDO DBT improves public sanitation, while biogas and biofertilizer production creates decentralized rural green jobs. Leveraging applied biotechnology through initiatives like Biotech, Pragati, and BIRSC democratizes scientific innovations, driving social equity, health security, and sustainable poverty reduction. Question 16. The Nobel Prize in Physics of 2014 was jointly awarded to Akasaki, Amano, and Nakamura for the invention of blue LEDs in 1990s. How was this invention impacted the everyday life of human? Can you see this? In 2021, they are asking about the Nobel Prize winner of 2014 and the invention of blue LEDs in the 1990s. A tough question of that year. Rather, very tough, you can say. If you do not have the idea of this, then you cannot. Idea means idea of this blue LEDs, though you cannot write this answer. The 2014 Nobel Prize in Physics recognized Isamu Akasaki, Hiroshi Amano, and Shuji Nakamura for developing bright blue light emitting diodes using gallium nitride semiconductors. Combining blue LEDs with red and green counterparts unlock the production of energy efficient white light, triggering a global lightning revolution. Impact on everyday life. Energy efficient general lighting replaced inefficient incandescent bulbs, 90% heat loss, and mercury laden CFL LED lighting consumes up to 80% less electricity, significantly lowering carbon emissions and household power bills. Revolution in display and technology. Blue LEDs enabled vibrant ultra-thin backlighting for smartphones, laptops, monitors, and LED OLED televisions, drastically improving battery performance and visual clarity. Off-grid lighting and democratization. Low energy demands allow white LEDs to run on basic solar panels, bringing safe electric light to millions in off-grid rural communities. Example, Ujala scheme in Delhi. Sorry, I don't know whether my mind is going. Example, Ujala scheme in India, not Delhi. Actually, when you read international relations constantly, so there many of the times they represent India as New Delhi because of the capital. So that is why my mind automatically read Delhi. Anyway, healthcare and sanitation applications. Development of deep UV LEDs from the blue LED technology enables chemical-free water sterilization and medical phototherapy. Example, treating neonatal jaundice. Smart cities and sustainable agriculture. Power efficient street lights, Li-Fi optical communications, and controlled indoor vertical farming, fine-tune blue light spectrums. By converting electricity directly into photons without heat waste, the invention of blue LEDs exemplifies exemplifies scientific research serving humanity, illuminating homes sustainably while advancing digital electronics. Question 17. Describe the major outcomes of the 26th session of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. What are the commitments made by India in this conference? COP26 held in Glasgow in November 2021 served as a crucial milestone to operationalize the Paris Agreement 1.5 degree centigrade warming limit and finalize the global climate agenda. Major outcomes of COP26 Glasgow Climate Pact. Phasing down coal, the first explicit climate uh, accord committing to a phase down of unabated coal power and phasing out inefficient fossil fuel subsidies. Paris Rulebook finalization resolved Article 6 mechanism establishing standard rules for global carbon trading markets and transparent emissions reporting. Methane and deforestation pledges. Launch of Global Methane Pledge targeting 30% methane reduction by 2030 and Glasgow Leaders Declaration on Forest and Land Use. Climate finance focus urged developed nations to double adaptation finance by 2025 and fulfill the promised $100 billion per year climate fund, although they are not giving a single penny. Forget about $100 billion. So COP26 outcome pillars, Glasgow Climate Pact, Paris Rulebook Article 6, sectoral pledges, commitment made by India, Panchamrit framework 500 gigawatt non-fossil capacity, achieving 500 gigawatt of non-fossil energy capacity by 2030, 50% renewable energy mix, meeting 50% of India's total energy requirements from renewable sources by 2030. 1 billion tons emissions cut, reducing total projected carbon emissions by 1 billion tons between 2021 and 2030. 45% carbon intensity reduction, reducing the carbon intensity of GDP by 45% by 2030 relative to 2005 levels. Net zero target, achieving the goal of net zero greenhouse gas emission by 2070. Mission Life introduced lifestyle for environment to promote individual eco-conscious actions globally. India's Panchamrit commitment positioned the country as a leader of the global south, balancing domestic economic growth with proactive international climate responsibility. Question 18. Describe the various causes and the effects of landslides. Mention the important components of National Landslide Risk Management Strategy. Landslides involve the downslope movement of soil, rock, and organic debris under gravitational pull in India. Over 12.6% of land area across in India, over 12.6% of land area across the Himalayas, Western Ghats, and Northeast is vulnerable to landslides. Causes and effects of landslides. Landslides hazard mechanics, triggering causes and devastating causes. Here you can see the devastating causes. Causes of landslides. Natural triggers. Intense rainfall, cloudburst generating high pore water pressure. Seismic shaking, earthquakes, fragile, faulted geology in Youngfold Mountains, Himalayas. Anthropogenic triggers, unplanned hill slope undercutting for highways, buildings, deforestation leading to loss of root cohesion, unregulated mining quarrying. Effects of landslides, loss of life and property. Buries mountain settlements causing loss of life. Wayanad landslides 2024. Infrastructure destruction disrupts critical transport corridors, power lines, and hydel projects. Ecological and hydrological damage creates artificial landslide dams along rivers, triggering flash floods downstream upon collapse. So this is the landslide risk belt, the Himalayan region and the Western Ghat region. So you can go through this. The components of the components of the National Landslide Risk Management Strategy (NDMA). Landslide hazard zonation mapping, preparing micro level hazard mapping using GIS and remote sensing. Landslide Atlas of India. Real time monitoring and early warning system (EWS). Installing sensors, rain gauges, inclinometers, and AI ML algorithm to predict slow failures. Site specific stabilization and mitigation. Structural bioengineering measures, slope drainage management, retaining walls and rock bottling. Awareness and capacity building, educating local mountain communities, conducting mock drills and training local administration. Policy and regulation enforcement, enforcing strict hill town planning codes and environmental impact assessments. Implementing NDMA's landslide risk strategy shift management from reactive emergency response toward proactive, science backed risk reduction and resilient mountain development. Actually, in this, educating local mountain community, conducting mock drills, and training local administration, I personally do not agree with this because look, if you are living somewhere in Madhya Pradesh and you are shifted or located to the Himalayan region, then this is applicable on you. But if someone is already living in those zones, like landslide prone zones in the mountains, so rather educating them, we should take suggestion from them that what we can do, because they do not have resources but they know the place better than us, right? So they know how to control it. So taking suggestion and then implement those suggestions will be a better choice. Question 19. Analyze the multi-dimensional challenges posed by external state and non-state actors to the internal security of India. Also discuss measures required to be taken to combat these threats. India's internal security matrix faces persistent threats from a hybrid combination of external state actors, hostile neighbor states, and non-state actors, terror groups, insurgent factions, organized crime syndicates, creating asymmetric security vulnerabilities. Multidimensional challenges posed. Hybrid threat nexus matrix. External state actors, non-state actors. You can go through this. This is like transnational drug and arm trafficking, money laundering via hawala channels. That's it. Proxy war, and transnational terrorism. State-sponsored non-state actors. Example: LET, JEM, Jaish Mohammed. LET is Lashkar-e-Taiba. Execute cross-border terrorist strikes backed by intelligence agencies of hostile neighbor states. Cyber warfare and infrastructure sabotage. Foreign state-backed advanced persistent threat. APT groups target critical infrastructure, power grids, nuclear system, financial networks. Insurgency and separatism. External supply of illegal arms and funding across porous borders sustains left-wing extremism and insurgent groups in the northeast. Crime, terror nexus and drug trafficking. Proximity to the Golden Crescent, West and Golden Triangle East. Drives narco-terrorism, fake Indian currency notes and human trafficking. Information warfare. Foreign state-sponsored digital campaigns and information warfare. Foreign state-sponsored digital campaigns spread misinformation, exploiting internal fault lines to trigger communal social friction. This is the map, by the way. Security threat vectors, key threat corridors and border hotspot. This is the east threat and the golden triangle. This is the west, the golden crescent. And these are the hotspot: Kutch, Barmer, Punjab border, Kupwara, and here Tooting, Moray, all this. Measures required to combat threats: integrated border management, deploying the comprehensive integrated border management system, featuring smart fencing, thermal sensors, and drone surveillance along sensitive borders, strengthening institutional infrastructure, enhancing coordination via NatGrid, multi-agency center, and empowering the National Investigation Agency, hardening cyber defenses, securing critical asset under NCIIPC, and executing proactive threat hunting through CERT-in and Defense Cyber Agency, financial anti-terror action, enforcing PMLA provisions, strictly clamping down on Hawala routes, and coordinating with FATF to choke terror funding channels. Neutralizing multidimensional security threats requires integrating military, intelligence, and diplomatic capabilities into a unified national security strategy. Question 20. Analyze the complexity and intensity of terrorism, its causes, linkages, and obnoxious nexus. Also suggests measures required to be taken to eradicate the menace of terrorism. Terrorism has evolved into a complex, asymmetric threat to global peace and national integrity. Modern terrorism uses advanced technologies, ideological radicalization, and illicit financial networks to maximize violence and destabilize democratic states. Causes, linkages, and the obnoxious nexus. Root causes of terrorism, political and ideological extremism, radicalization driven by religious fundamentalism, separatist movements, or political indoctrination, socio-economic margins, unemployment, governance deficit, and perceived socio-economic injustice exploited by terror recruiters, external state sponsorship, geopolitical rivals using terror outfits as cheap proxies for state warfare. The crime terror state nexus. So organized crime, hawala, and narco terror outfits, external state backing. This is the figure. You can go through this three-pillar response model. Pillar one, hard security and intelligence. Pillar two, financial and tech control. Pillar three, social de-radicalization and CCIT mechanism. Linkages and obnoxious nexus. Crime terror nexus. Terrorist groups collaborate with transnational organized crimes syndicates to finance operations via narcotics trafficking, Golden Crescent and Triangle, illegal arms smuggling, extortion, and kidnapping, Hawala and digital financing, use of unregulated Hawala networks, darknet marketplaces, and cryptocurrencies to transfer funds seamlessly across international borders, state non state synergy, hostile states intelligence agencies providing safe havens, advanced weaponry, and intelligence to proxy terror outfits. Measures required to eradicate the menace of terrorism. Zero tolerance legislative and enforcement policy. Rigorous enforcement under UAPA and strengthening specialized agencies like the NIA and NSG. Choking financial pipelines. Active intelligence sharing through FIU IND, enforcing FATF compliance and tracking virtual asset transactions. Counter radicalization and de radicalization, engaging civil society, community leaders, and educational institutions to de radicalize youth and address online extremism. International consensus, championing the early adoption of the UN Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism (CCIT) and expanding bilateral counter-terror intelligence sharing. Eradicating terrorism requires combining strong domestic security mechanism with global intelligence cooperation and proactive socio-economic integration.